So, if you've been around my channel for a while, or if you're new, welcome to Fjook Enterprises YouTube channel, Conversations with Fjook, where I interview people on various topics. Once again, I am joined with. Once again, I'm joined by the cursed paladin himself, Tanicus.
You got it right. And Victorian Paladins, how's everyone doing?
Welcome, heroes and villains, to Fjook Enterprises YouTube channel. Take a moment, relax, stop your bickering, and just enjoy the show. So today we are talking, as the title says, about Jonah Hex. Specifically the movie that came out several years ago, some time ago. So the only review I've watched of Jonah Hex has been by the Blockbuster Buster. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he compared him to his comic book adaptation. Were you aware that Jonah Hex is a DC comic book character?
I know he's a DC character because of Justice League. Since during that particular little cartoon series, they showed him in there. Specifically, when Batman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern went back in time, chasing after this thief known as Chrono, who was able to manipulate time to go back in the past and steal things like Cleopatra's jewelry and other items of historical significance, sort of thing. And when they went back in time, well, when they chased the Chrono through the thing, his little time tunnel one time, it took them to the Wild West where they met up with Jonah Hex. But apart from that, I've only known him from the actual movie series. Well, his little movie there, sort of thing. I'm sort of disappointed that they never did a second one, since it's an interesting character.
For those of us who haven't seen the Jonah Hex movie, what's it about?
Well, basically, the movie's about the character Jonah Hex, who was a Confederate soldier during the Civil War period in America. He got betrayed by his commanding officer. His family got killed, and he's buried alive, basically. He manages to survive, but in doing so, he vows revenge against this commanding officer, who he starts tracking around. Throughout the movie, he is hired as a bounty hunter by the President of the United States to investigate a series of robberies into various secret super weapon components that were stored away and scattered across the countryside. As he does so, he finds out that his commanding officer is the guy doing the whole robbery bit and forming this giant multi-barrel cannon that basically is like a nuclear bomb in the form of its cannonballs, and a very interesting tank that they had for the Confederate side.
From what you're explaining, it doesn't seem like a typical Western movie.
It has its typical Western moments, but they did change things around a little, kind of like they did with Wild Wild West, since they had a few outlandish contraptions within Jonah Hex but they tried to make them more of the time period than they did with the Wild Wild West movie did, by far.
So, do you recommend this movie to people?
Well, it's well worth watching at least once. It's not a bad movie. I mean, I enjoyed it for pretty well, considering how Jonah evolves as a character throughout it, as he does his whole tracking.
So, Was it just the tracking that you enjoyed in the Jonah Hex movie, or what did you enjoy in the movie?
Uh, I enjoyed the character development more than anything else throughout the whole thing, since you see him use his ability to talk to people that have passed away to try and gain information about what how they died and what was their last moment sort of thing, and just his interaction with other people and that easily enough, considering with him missing half of his face sort of thing, does kind of mess things up, since basically from his cheekbone region on his left side, I think it is, down to his jaw is basically like the skin's just been withered away and is torn to tatters sort of thing. So it just looks like something's just clawed a giant chunk out of that side of his face. Kind of like a zombie movie in that regard, from the look of it. But the character development was cool.
On the flip side of that, did the movie do anything that you didn't enjoy?
Yeah, while I can understand them needing some sort of big threatening thing, just the way it was done with these components and that, it's like it sort of annoyed me a little bit, since a giant multi-cannon artillery piece sort of thing that is able to shoot 6 rounds like a Gatling gun is pretty ridiculous.
The TV show, Jonah Hex doesn't have any powers. And in the few comic books that I've read about Jonah Hex, he doesn't have any powers. But I've heard you just mention that he has powers. What powers does he have?
Basically, he's able to commune with the dead, where he's able to talk with someone who has died and find out what the last moments sort of thing was about. Like, let's say he wanted to get an answer out of someone who has just been hung from by the sheriff, sort of thing. He can grasp the corpse and then talk to him, kind of like with Hellboy in a sense, if you remember that movie, the first one.
If you were given creative control to write the script for the sequel of Jonah Hex, what would you do? What would you do for the character of Jonah Hex in the sequel if you had writing control over the script?
Well, that's a good question. Considering more than likely I tried to go for a western like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, or The Pale Rider sort of thing, two of which that Clint Eastwood's been in, and very good ones at that, where sort of deal. But I'd probably go kind of like The Quick and the Dead in its essence as well, where Jonah Hex is trying to find his place in the world where he's accepted, sort of deal, while dealing with the various nefarious banditos throughout the Wild West era.
As you're aware, because I've interviewed you several times, I always end my interviews with the same question. Anyone or anything you'd like to shout out this time?
Yeah, there's a Twitch user I've been watching of late called Mother Chaos. You should go check out her channel. It's pretty interesting, pretty funny, some of the stuff she does. She's more of a horror gamer, so if you don't like horror stuff, then maybe not your cup of tea, but she's cool. Of course, there's you there for Fjook. You're always pretty badass with your videos. I've been enjoying the last few without too much hassle, as I've commented to you. Um, Apart from that, I know Choco is trying to restart up his channel. So you could go looking for the Game and Choco Bro and send him a message or two to try and encourage him to come back. But apart from that, nothing else really.
Don't forget, if you made it this far, to like, comment, and subscribe, and the links for the people that aren't me will be in the description of the video.